Welcome to the Linux Saloon, a place to discuss tech, open source, and where Linux is always on tap. Each show will have a talk about a Linux project, such as a distribution, desktop environment, or application. We also chat about news or any variety of topics from the community. Anything that is Linux, tech, and open source related is on the table for discussion. I'm Nate, a Linux fitness and vintage tech enthusiast with an almost unhealthy obsession with the OpenSUSE project. With me today, I got quite the panel of folks. I have Penguin, Sean, White Chocolate, Jinda, Eris, Rudra, Ben, and Morningstar. So, and Morningstar, welcome. I haven't seen you around here before, so hopefully you're not trolls, huh? So, how is everybody?
Excellent.
Be sure to do the straw poll. It is about your experience of exploring Ubuntu Unity. I personally had a great time with it. I hope you did too. But it's Ubuntu Unity is kind of the focus. It's in the spotlight, but anything Ubuntu related is cool. So don't be afraid to participate any way that you see fit on your Ubuntu experience. So welcome everybody, and thank you so much for being here. It's great to have you all. So on the docket for today, we're gonna talk about that straw poll, do that Ubuntu Unity distro exploration, talk about what's going up next week, and do our last call. But first, what have you been doing in Linux and tech? You know, Jinda, I haven't heard from you in a while, and I don't know what. I'm just putting you on the spot here because I didn't do enough prep ahead of time. And so, what is there anything exciting you've been doing that you'd like to share with everybody?
The only thing I've been playing with, guys, is I was playing with the new Raspberry Pi OS because they switched over to Wayland.
Yeah, how's that going?
It took forever to install, and I think I'm going to have to probably try to start over because I just did an update, an upgrade kind of thing, because it should do that. And this time it did not go as well as it usually does.
Huh. So is that running like a Debian 12 base then? Do you know?
Yeah. I think they went to Bookworm. They're running Wayland on it, Pipewire on it. The Raspberry Pi OS is grown a lot, and I think it has a big thing to do with the Raspberry Pi 5 coming out. Well, it should be out. I don't know how available it is right now.
Yeah, I haven't actually checked to see availability on it, but I'm pretty excited about it. I don't know if it has I think it has like a built-in power switch. I'm not sure what that really means. I don't know if it has more better or power management. That was my good English there. My
Sure.
good in English. But there's something I'm a little concerned about, like too many additional bells and whistles on the Raspberry Pi, because there's something about it being a very simple machine to do very simple tasks, and that's kind of the charm of a Raspberry Pi. So I'm afraid it might go too far into the full-fledged computer side of things, as opposed to just being more of a computer unit or a hobby board or whatever. But that's my opinion. I mean, I don't know. We'll see how things shake out, long term. Maybe they'll keep the 4 going for a while, or the 3.
Raspberry Pis are extremely limited on computer power. You can't add too many features to them, or else you're going to end up with a really slow Raspberry Pi.
Well, what I'm saying though is it's a great appliance. So like a single purpose machine, not so much a general computer, but actually a specific more like an appliance type machine, which is kind of the attraction that I have for it. Or some things that are really cool people do with it is and if you're in the vintage computing area, Raspberry Pis are often used as either a coprocessor or as a to replace like the whole CPU piece of it entirely, and then they're able to do like great emulation of like other architectures on the Raspberry Pi, like specific things. So that's one of the things I think makes Raspberry Pi kind of special, because you can do really exciting things with it.
Great for classic video game emulation as well.
Right.
I love doing that.
Yeah, that is one of the charms of it. Well, excellent. So Jinda, I hope you get your Raspberry Pi issue sorted out. Is it a 4 that you're playing with, or is it?
Yeah, I'm playing with a 4, and I just wanted to update it to see what would happen. I've been running Doom 3 on it for a little while. I ran Grand Theft Auto on it also.
Okay.
And, I got one of those software packs that helps you install stuff, Pi Apps, I think it's called.
Okay.
I'll have to look it up and see which one it's called. And, I try my best to, like you said, try to do something to learn with and use it as an appliance and not do much with it. But it's still a good learning experience, I think, for it. I mean, I can't find a better one so far. And it's damn fun too.
Yeah. The nice thing about it is because it's all SD card based, you can get a bunch of SD cards and then you can, try different things out very easily without very low cost. And that's something else actually I've had problems with is like SD cards kind of like blow out on me. Like they just kind of quit.
Yep.
And then, so it's always good to kind of check those things every once in a while too.
Yeah, I'm running mine off a flash drive, the Raspberry Pi 4, a hard drive off the USB, regular USB thumb drive.
Oh, wow.
For some reason, the 4 has the capability of doing that.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it runs a lot quicker, and I think they last a little longer. I don't know if it has to, I think it just has to do with heat. I don't think it's anything more than that. Some electrical guy might know more than me.
Actually, sort of dual booting two Ubuntu installations on a Raspberry Pi. So I have a UEFI image on my SD card. And then I have a couple of Ubuntu server installs, a couple of Ubuntu server ARM installs, just using the regular ARM ISOs for Ubuntu and install them to a couple of disks. And, then I just have it, like any other system with a UEFI. So, yeah.
Yeah, the whole U-boot feature of the Raspberry Pi is a little different than.
Actually, I'm using an OVMF image on the SD card, so
Okay.
yeah, it's kind of like an old PC, so
Well, excellent.
yeah.
That's fun. Ricky, welcome. I see you snuck in here and just nice and quietly, and I'm calling you out. But thanks for being here, Ricky.
Yo, Ricky.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and move on to the straw poll. Eris, like every week, Eris puts together a fantastic straw poll that's not only educational but entertaining. So I don't know if want to go ahead and take it away, Eris.
Okay, so the straw poll, let me refresh one last time. The question was, how was your experience with Ubuntu Unity 23.10 like? 25% said did not have a good time with it. 25% said didn't have enough time, busy with work, busy with life. 17% said it is amazing, long live Unity. 17% said it is okay. 8% said not interested in the exploration. 8% said Tux Penguin. And
Nice.
those are the results. I did get one reply, and I received a GIF. A man having bitten into a burger. The text says, I mean, it's all right.
Well, I mean, it is what it is, I guess. So I know that any sort of distribution maintenance is always a challenging thing for sure. And I know, Rudra, you're how long have you been into this right now?
Yeah, I've been maintaining Ubuntu Unity since around May 2020, so yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's been
Quite a while.
2.5 years, yeah.
Very cool. All right. Well, I guess we can go ahead and move on to the exploration itself. So, as part of the rules, the intent is to talk about the different aspects of the operating system and discuss your experience from using it. This is a discussion by which should be objective and constructive. Non-objective opinions like this is garbage is not helpful. Rather, if you say, I wish it had a specific feature, or I really need features that allow me to do, fill in the blank, then you're benefiting to the conversation. The point is to highlight the positives, but not ignore the lowlights of the project. Remember, this is a labor of love for some, so let's not poo-poo on it. So a little bit about Ubuntu. It's a Linux distribution based on Debian and composed mostly of free and open source software. Ubuntu is officially released in multiple editions, a desktop, server, and core for Internet of Things devices and robots. All the editions can run on a computer alone or in a virtual machine. Ubuntu is a popular operating system for cloud computing with support for OpenStack. An upgrade of Ubuntu is released every 6 months with long-term support, or LTS, released every 2 years. As of October 2023, the most recent release is 2310 or Mantic Minotaur. And the current long-term support release is 2204, which is Jammin' Jellyfish. Ubuntu is developed by a British company called Canonical and a community of other developers under the meritocratic governance model. Canonical provides security updates and support for each Ubuntu release, starting from the release date until the release reaches its designated end-of-life date. Canonical generates revenue through the sale of premium services related to Ubuntu and donations from those who download the Ubuntu software. Ubuntu is named after, that's a hard word to say, an Nguni philosophy of Ubuntu, which Canonical indicates means humanity to others, which with a connotation of I am what I am because of who we are. So a little bit about Ubuntu Unity. We have the developer Rudra here. So thank you for being here. Ubuntu Unity is a flavor of Ubuntu featuring the Unity 7 desktop environment, the default desktop environment used by Ubuntu from 2010 to 2017. It's actively developed and maintained with the release of Unity 7 every year, and you can learn more about Unity 7 at unityd.org. There are 3 ISOs that you have available. It's Ubuntu Unity 2204.1. It's an LTS download of the ISO. Ubuntu Unity 2304, this is the old stable, and the current stable of Ubuntu Unity 2310. So that's kind of something else you want to add in there, Rudra, as far as about Ubuntu Unity?
So, I mean, given over everything, so yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So the nice thing about Ubuntu Unity, I think it was a departure from the various desktop environments at the time with GNOME and KDE. And it just did things different. Some people, it was very polarizing. Some people really loved it. Some people did the opposite of love it. And so it was some people that had the what was that? I think Eris, I don't know if you remember or maybe Sean, you might remember the not built here or not something here complex that kind of started around that, like people having issues.
Ubuntu gets accused of always making their own path, not really going with the community projects. And Unity is one of their own projects. Same thing for Mir. Same thing for I forgot what the thing is for System D. Jump something. I don't remember.
Yeah, though it was supposed to, be a part. It was supposed to be a shell for GNOME, along with GNOME shell until GNOME rejected the proposal. So I mean that's how it ended up as its own desktop environment, since it was initially supposed to be an alternative to GNOME shell for the GNOME desktop environment, since the desktop environment has all of the apps, everything other than just a shell. So it was just supposed to be an alternative session, to the GNOME shell. So yeah.
It was I don't know if it was mentioned, but this had a lot to do with initiative by Canonical to make phones that had the same interface as the desktop, and this was a big proponent of the Unity platform and everything. But that never really materialized into an actual phone for convergence.
So yeah, we have Lummi now, so that's just based off of those efforts. There was Unity 8 at the time, which used Qt and all of that. Lummi was picked up, or Unity 8, as it was known at the time, was picked up by UbiPorts and then renamed to Lummi. So that's how we have Lummi today. But yeah, I'm really having Ubuntu Touch on the phone now.
And Ubuntu Touch, does that use same Unity 7 or does that use a Qt based thing?
That uses a Qt based thing, Lummi. Okay. Yeah. Lummi is just the name of Unity 8. So to avoid comparisons with the game engine Unity. So yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. So as far as the setup process goes, what was it the Calamares installer, or was that something else?
It's just a big fishy, so
Okay.
using Ubuntu's installer.
Okay, that's what I figured.
Yeah.
It was very easy to install, very straightforward. I didn't have any issues with the installation process. Did anybody here have issues installing it?
No.
No, that's good. And then, I don't know, Sean, did you give Unity a try?
I didn't have a whole lot of time to try it, but I did load it into a VM and poke around for a few minutes on it. And in the VM, it's one of the things that is happening is when I go to the system settings, because I want to update the display resolution, it crashes the desktop and kicks me out to the display manager. So that's kind of weird, but it may just be something in the VM that I'm using. I don't know.
What
That's the only.
technology are you using?
Yeah, so I'm just using virtual machine manager, which I think is
Vertman.
Vertman. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Which
I
chapter
noticed.
are you using? Oh, yeah, sorry.
I
Go ahead.
noticed a similar problem with VirtualBox as well. So I don't think it's just VM. I don't think it's just VM Manager. I think it's all virtual machines are doing something similar. I had to go in there and manually set a lot of things in that resolution. If you don't do it, but the thing is, if you don't do it like in a certain order, it will crash out the desktop environment, send you back to the display manager. It happened to me about 5 times.
See, yeah, because that's major bug then because I didn't face that until hardware, surprisingly, I think. So I'll have to look into VMs then. I'll have to test it on the VM and have a look then because that's really serious bug then. If it's just kicking you out of the desktop, you know. If you just want to change display settings, that's a really major bug then in the VM. I'll have a look then. No.
So what is the for installing applications? What is the primary? Because you have snaps, obviously, right? That snaps are enabled.
Yeah,
They have to be.
Snapd. Yeah, they are. I mean, Snapd is installed by default, of course, but we don't ship the snaps to her at the moment, because it was based on GNOME software at the time and it still is. So we're just waiting for the Flutter show to come out, the one that uses Flutter. Since Libetwriter apps do not exactly play well with Unity 7. So, once that comes out, so at the moment it's just an app thing, but once the Flutter base comes out, we plan to ship that as a default, along with Synaptic, of course, and good old Synaptic.
Okay. Now the process that you use for you because you are obviously integrated with the Ubuntu community quite well. So they provide some sort of a framework then that you build, you put your bits into, and then that's how you publish it, or how does that actually work?
Sort of, yeah. So we just upload all of our packages, so all of the Ubuntu Unity related packages to the Ubuntu repositories. So there's a whole set of processes regarding that, and then we also maintain the Unity 7 packages and all of that in the Ubuntu repositories. And then for building images or ISOs and all of that, there's a framework for Ubuntu, so all of the Ubuntu flavors. So we used to use our own ISO builder earlier, but after becoming a flavor, we use Ubuntu infrastructure now. So we built our ISOs on Launchpad, kind of similar to how PPAs are built.
Okay.
Since Ubuntu has a similar system for ISOs, except it is restricted to Absolute's project. So Ubuntu Unity uses the Launchpad infrastructure now. So yeah, they just provide us with the framework for all of that, for building ISOs and for packages. We just maintain them and upload them ourselves. So we have Timothy Chachnev So I do not have upload rights to the Ubuntu repositories, but a member of our team, Dimitri Shashnev, he does. So we just we give our packages for we give our packages to him to review and then to upload to the Ubuntu repositories and all of that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how it works. Ubuntu Unity.
That's cool. Jinda, did you give it a spin?
Yeah, I installed it in VirtualBox. I had the same problem that everyone else did. I had to enable 3D acceleration and then do the what is it? The add-ons for whatever it is, and I had to install those. But once I did that, everything seemed to work. I had no problems with the install whatsoever. I did notice you guys
You
are running.
installed the VirtualBox drivers. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, the add-ons, what is it, the add-on pack thing? Yeah, it still had an error though. It did come up with an error, but it did install some of them. And once I did that and rebooted it, I did get it to finally work efficient enough for me to play with it.
Okay. As far as for those that got it working and were having some fun with it, what kind of applications did you install on top of it?
Oh, I put in Inkscape, and then after I put Inkscape in, I put Blender, and then I went and installed Flatpaks to see if that would work. And I put what was it? I can't remember what I put in what I just picked something at random for the Flatpak to see if it would work. The
Okay.
one thing that I did notice was I could not find a task manager that was pre-installed. I had to install one for myself. And I
Okay.
thought that was something that for a newbie, I thought that should be something that should be installed. Now, I don't know if it should or shouldn't. It's just a thought.
Yeah, we do actually ship Stacer at the moment. So I guess the name isn't the most obvious, but yeah, we ship Stacer at the moment since we weren't able to pick out any system monitor. That did not use libadvisor. So there's a new project out as well. I'm pretty sure there was another one, but it too uses libadvisor. The one with the windows like API and everything else views all those panels. There's a new one that uses libadvisor. Unfortunately, like I mentioned earlier, most GNOME apps that use libadvisor, they do not play that well with Unity. We're just shipping apps that use GTK3 or GTK4 without libadvisor. So Stacer was one of them, so we went for it instead of the regular old GNOME system monitor this time, since the system monitor was half broken as it uses libadvisor.
Okay.
Gotcha. So some interesting chats in the chat, in the YouTube chat. I lost it. Steve Anderson says, even Linux is getting so big you can't put it on a 4 gigabyte flash drive. I think, well, yeah, everything is getting big, I suppose. Even Ubuntu is 3.27 gigabytes. So, yep, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, we ask computers to do a lot more today than we used to, 20 years ago, we didn't ask it to stream video or didn't do much video. Well, some people might have done audio editing, but that was probably more niche. So there's that.
I've got to admit though, yeah,
What's
I'm
that?
kind of surprised by the increase in the sizes of Ubuntu ISOs with every single release, because when we look at our distributions, let's just look at Arch-based distros, for example. All of them have the sizes pretty constant. Because in Ubuntu land we're just constantly switching our app packages and all of that for snaps and all of that, so that increases the size. But yeah. So this is usually not an issue with other distributions, but yeah, just sort of pointed out.
Yeah. So Anna Rita says hibernate is not needed by her, as I just shut down or restart, so I never put my laptop to sleep or hibernate. Yeah, I actually use sleep all the time. Like if I didn't have sleep, I don't know what I would do. That's kind of an important one to me. And then Eris, you mention that Debian seems to be the only distro that makes it necessary for that requirement.
Yeah, the 2 times RAMs. A lot of people complain about it, that the swap size is always 2 times RAM.
Oh, okay.
And that's to make sure that hibernation works.
Right.
Because you know that space.
Yeah, there's when I set up a OpenSUSE, they have an option for that. Do you want to allocate enough for Hibernate or not? So I thought it was interesting. That's cool. Now, I didn't have a default browser when I installed Ubuntu Unity. Is there did something follow up with my installation, or is that a is that a normal thing?
Well, that's
Firefox was
okay
there.
because it is your Firefox by default, so that should happen the default. You know, it's called mean type. That should happen in the spot. That should happen the default. So
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I
there's
had
yeah.
Firefox. I had Firefox installed, the Snap version.
Yep.
Maybe I did something wrong. Because I didn't have it installed.
Did you uncheck the box
Nope.
that tells it not to install browsers and other extra software?
Nope.
Okay, because there is a box for that.
Yeah,
Like an app,
that's
like an app for that.
Maybe Nate
just
started purging his snaps and didn't notice that he purged Firefox in the process.
I did no such thing. I purged nothing. So, well, anyway, so the what do you suppose that the issue is with the settings? Is that, do you think it's something specific with the just virtual machines?
yeah, I think that might be the case. I think that might be the case, and I do, because I did not encounter this on real hardware, so I have
It,
an embedded GPU. So
it is something that's just specific to virtual machine because I did
yeah,
install it on bare metal, had no issues whatsoever.
exactly. Yeah,
So it
Okay.
just happens to be VirtualBox and VMs in general.
yeah.
Okay.
VirtualBox or KVM and all of that. So yeah, I would actually be interested to know which video adapter you use for VirtualBox and for Bot Manager. So if you use VirtIO and VirtIO GPU, or if you just use QXL in Bot Manager, I'd be interested to know that, since
Yeah.
that might.
Hopefully, someone can provide some reports there. That'd be good. Now, as far as any resources that people use to get with their Unity experience, did anybody use any websites or any blogs or forums or anything? No, Jinda, you look like no.
No,
No, I just played with it.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I was just curious if anybody used anything particular that they'd like to share, like, you know.
well, me,
whatnot.
I use Ubuntu Unity 22.04 every day. So, and so I put it so I didn't need any guides or anything.
Oh, okay, that's cool. I haven't installed any of the other Ubuntu's. This is the first one from 23.10. For what it's worth.
Same here.
I was going
I
to
did
ask.
install.
Mention, Nate.
What was that, Sean?
I did install the mainline, the flagship Ubuntu 22 or 23.10.
Okay.
And it's interesting that mainline, I'll just call it mainline Ubuntu, defaults to kind of a minimal application or install, where it doesn't install a whole lot of applications at this point.
Okay.
Which is opposite of the way it used to do it. It would install like a full suite of desktop applications, and then the minimal installation was the one that you had to check to get that behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So Unity doesn't have that, or it defaults to the old way of doing the full desktop suite kind of install, which I found an interesting contrast between the two.
I've noticed the that's kind of been a change in a lot of distributions, like in the last few years, where they're a lot more minimal now. when it used to be, they gave you everything. It was just an entire suite of software, everything you could possibly need on your desktop computer. But now we've kind of gone away from that. Why do you suppose that is?
Because a lot of people are complaining about a lot of the bloat, and it's slowing down their computers. They have a bunch of packages they don't need that they have to go sort through. And I think a lot of people have said they would rather go and install what they need rather than going through and trying to sort out a bunch of packages that they don't and trying to remove all the dependencies from the system that they don't need.
Well, I don't. Linux doesn't really suffer from bloat, though. If you have a lot of packages, it doesn't slow your system down. That's not a thing. Never has been.
I mean, that's results in an increase in user size. So people just usually want the stuff they want to use. It's usually that, and then another reason, at least in the case of Ubuntu Unity, and the other reason was, we really got and I think this is what's happening with other Ubuntu flavors as well. So we just got to offset all of those gains, from the other packages, from the snapshot. We really, since we have much larger ISOs now, so we just got to cut down on packages and stuff nowadays. So that also played a major role. So yeah.
I think that perhaps in other times, people didn't have good connections at home, and downloading something like OpenOffice would take a long time to download from home. So maybe you would want to ship as much as possible on like in a box or in a CD, because maybe they're not going to be able to download it later. And now, since everybody has better connections, of course not everyone, but let's say more than they used to, perhaps it's more possible just to build yourself your distro the way you like it now, and that's what people probably want, a less apps by default.
I see. Yeah, I might just yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I think I might just add a few packages. I might just add LibreOffice maybe. We could include a basic Office suite, but yeah, it's just mostly the other stuff. So you had the GNOME games and all of that. So we had to cut down on a lot of the uploads. So yeah, that's where most of the package reductions came in. So yeah, I guess we could include an Office suite or something of that sort. We just try to cut out all of that, all of everything else that was on there that most people do not usually use. So yeah, point.
Actually, another theory with distributions cutting down on applications is people are used to using online tools for a lot of that things, a lot of those services anymore. So they will use like Google Docs or Microsoft 365 or whatever for their Office suite. And it doesn't need to be installed on your computer. It just needs to be a browser, right? So that kind of would cut down on the things that would ship out of the box. Nate, you're muted.
That's because I was coughing. I guess the primary functions I do on my computer today are a lot more web-centric than I think they were 10, 15, 20 years ago, I would say. You had to have a client for everything before, but now things are a lot more web-centric. Yeah. Except for IRC. IRC was always fun 20 years ago. Anybody still going to IRC? No?
Occasionally.
Yeah.
It's been a long time. Long time. Sometimes say IOC.
Yeah, okay. I'm quite active on, I'm quite active on IRC, in the art channels and in the Ubuntu channels and all of that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Asterisk, welcome. I see you in the YouTube quite a bit. Nice to have you in the on the panel itself. So thanks for being here. Did you give
Yeah,
Ubuntu Unity a spin?
I
You don't have to. You don't have to talk. No obligation. But if you feel like it, anytime, you're absolutely welcome. So as far as your general user experience of Unity, to those that installed it, what aside from any glitches you may have had with like the system settings or whatnot, what would you say overall was your experience? Would you say it was it fun to use? Is it more nostalgic for you, or do you feel like it's still a near peer of like GNOME and Plasma and the like?
I'll go first, Nate.
Absolutely, fire away.
Well, the thing I liked about it the most was it brought me back to a time where I was rather new with Linux. I was didn't know what the heck I was doing, pretty happy with Unity at the time. And I was like, what the F is this? But I liked it. It felt new. It felt after GNOME 2, way back in the day. I was like, this is new, this is cool, this is exciting. And to me, it gives me a lot of nostalgia, but at the same time, with all the stuff that Rudra and his guys have done, it feels refreshing to come back to it. It feels like, I'm back in the early, mid 2000s again. And I'm just, every time I look at it, I feel, connected with my computer. I feel like me and the computer are in it. I don't know. It feels like something just works. It feels like it just sticks. But if I have one recommendation to Rudra and his team, if anything, please, for the love of Saint, install Mate Optimus, please.
Why?
That's the only thing that's the only recommendation I make, because I got to tell you, I've installed this thing on my AMD Optimus laptop, my friend. Please, in your next ISO, include that thing. That's the only thing that I can say, because
wouldn't that only
I
be good
noticed it
for?
wasn't there out of the box. As a guy who's running an Optimus laptop, not having
I
that.
just use the Mux switcher.
It is a mux switch laptop, but I gotta tell you, even Eric Adams, who's one of the guys who comes on here and has a similar situation, oh, if you can please add that, because here's the thing: if my laptop was running strictly on NVIDIA, oh, the problems would ensue. So if you can please add that little applet in your distro, that would make a heap ton of people happy, I'm sure, not just me.
So
I second that. I second that.
Yeah, because
I should probably mention. Yeah, that's the kind of thing I might have.
And also Alan here, Penguin, I'm sure he would thank you for doing that. Yeah, because there's
I run strictly Optimus laptops a lot of times. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people do, and I know Alan here will agree with me on doing that, because I got to tell you, there's all these gaming laptops out there these days that ship with NVIDIA as the DGPU, and all those guys would thank you for doing that, right, Alan?
Absolutely.
Yep. So you can do that for not just us,
I guess
but for
a guy like me, though, that would be considered bloat.
Low grade, yeah.
Not low grade, a lot of bloat, because that would just be in the way. Additional things,
yeah,
right?
I understand. Well, the thing is, you could put it as in the installer like only to install it if you were installing the NVIDIA drivers.
Here's the thing: we don't exactly have that much control over the installer at the moment, since it's just Ubuntu.
No, I get you. It was just an idea. That's all.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, just to see if there's just one GPU. I have never used it, so yeah, just usually off the Mux switch. So that's sort of just appear those.
Yeah, well, only high end as heck gaming laptops comes with Mux switches. but I mean, it was just, for those of us who don't have mug switch
I
laptops.
get it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'll probably, include it. Just wanted to check it if it
Yeah,
if the
and
indicator just disappears if there's just one GPU, or if there's
yeah,
GPU, yeah, does it disappear, or does it always stay as an indicator?
yeah, it was just, a program that I thought that you could maybe add,
Oh,
it's like
I
an
see.
option or
Or
something.
or just at least put it in like a welcome screen where you can just install it right there,
Oh,
right in the
yeah.
welcome
Right then and
screen.
there,
Yeah,
yeah,
actually,
yeah.
that might
That
actually
might
be
be an
better
easier
since
thing to accomplish.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a
we're actually
Ubuntu
working on a
Unity
welcome
welcome
screen
app,
for the
yeah.
next release. Yeah, we're working on a new one for the next release, so
Yeah,
I think that might actually be better.
maybe you could suggest that to the group as like, in the welcome app for 24.04, throw
Yeah,
this sucker in there because,
probably,
per
yeah.
people's request.
Well, I mean, if people are
Yeah.
willing to help you out with that, Rudra, testers and whatnot, that'd be good. But
Yeah, I'll test it for him. What the hey?
yeah,
Because I
Yeah.
have a AMD laptop next to me and an Intel one with 2 graphics cards, and I'd be willing to help, look into that. Yeah,
I would too.
sure. We'll test it for you if you make it happen, Rudra.
or
Because
Appreciate
I'm on
it, yeah.
Telegram and he's on Discord. So what I can do is if you get a testing image out there, send it to me and then I'll send it to Alan and then we can try it out for you.
I'm also on the
And
Telegram as
by the
well.
way, I'm actually more active on Telegram than on Discord. I just
Well,
put
there-
that out.
Yeah,
there
yeah.
is an Ubuntu Unity
Yeah.
Telegram
Telegram
group.
group.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, the Discord is actually
if-
kind of dead.
yeah, so if you want to get involved with the
Mhm.
Ubuntu Unity group, then that'd be a great
Yeah.
place to discuss that in
Well,
the future.
I'm in there and I'll link it to Alan after the show.
Yeah, because I'm on Telegram too. So just
Great.
send it
Yeah,
to
we
me on
can,
Discord.
We'll talk to you on there.
Or on-
Rudra, about
or on
that.
Telegram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's see.
All right. So,
Yeah.
any other closing thoughts on Ubuntu Unity from the class?
Just
Sure,
one
Ricky.
little-
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Jinda.
Oh,
Or-
Ricky, we wanted to go.
All right.
Let Rick go.
Basically, I got the live ISO image going now. I've only now just got to testing this thing. I've been pretty much setting up my new Mac OS interface for the past like 24, 48 hours now, so I haven't had the time until now to get around it. But I will say this, Ubuntu Unity in a nutshell, very stable, very reliable. If, say for instance, if I was on a stranded island and I had to pick between GNOME and Unity, I would pick Unity inevitably because to me, Unity is stable, reliable, and it just works. And for the longest time, as one of my other buddies, Total OS Today, says, it used to be at one point from like around 2016 to about 2018, the Linux gold standard for the masses. A lot of people went to Unity. A lot of people loved Unity. And when Canonical basically dropped Unity a couple years ago, I mean, Unity formed a cult following around it, and then just recently we got it back as a flavor. I off and on over the years I've tried Unity. It's very good, and I would recommend it to any Windows user to give it a shot. It may be a different interface, but you'll most likely get the hang of it. It's got wonderful documentation.
Of course.
Thank
I
you very
highly
much.
agree with
Yeah,
that.
appreciate it. Yeah, yeah. I mean, about the cult following. Yeah, I mean, we had tons of people that just picked it up. After right after Canonical announced it was going to be deprecated. I mean, back in 2017 around April. We had the Unity 7 maintainer scene formed and all of that. So yeah.
Well, again, Rudra, you and your group are doing a great thing for us users who just want to stick with Unity, and I thank you and you guys for like keeping this desktop alive because again, I'm very nostalgic for it, and kudos to you, my friend, for keeping this thing alive. And I hope you and your team continue to do this for us. That this is a great work of art and a great arm and a leg you've pulled to keep this thing going. So keep up the good work, good sir.
So there is
Very much.
just as a quick aside, there is a I don't know if it's a separate project from Ubuntu Unity. It's called unityd.org. So here you can check out there's where the actual development for Unity is going on. And so I think based on what I see here is that I don't know why I posted that thing twice. Anyway, so you can see they have they have Ubuntu Unity, Manjaro Unity, and also a Gentoo Unity 7 as well. And then I see that there's a Unity X 7.7 and Unity 7.7. I didn't actually really read through this with a lot of. I didn't read through this well. I just went through it and I saw you, Rudra, the author here. But so Unity X is what is that?
Yeah, so it's so we essentially got Unity 7 done with a compass, so so that's what put us and some others well to happen to setting us back. So if you want to achieve VLAN support, for example, so we got to move the dependency on compass first and then on Nox, which is the toolkit Unity 7 relies on. So so far we've been able to get rid of the dependency on compass, so you can continue to use compass for the Unity X. Or you could use any other printer manager, especially if you'd like to use Wayland. So you would have to use X-Wayland, at this time. So
Okay.
which is Unity X is just an effort to to move all of those dependencies. So we've been able to get rid of the compass dependency, then we hope to get rid of the Nox dependency as well. So just move over to the old GDK, and then that's what Unity X is. That's the premise of Unity X.
I didn't dig into the really into the specifics, but is Unity based on GTK3 then?
Yeah, actually, yeah, it's GDK4 actually.
Okay.
Some components GDK2 versus others use GDK4 itself for mix.
Okay.
Kind of like Marcha and other TEs, but yeah. The Unity 7 itself as an the applications use GDK2 or GDK4 and so do some of Unity's components. Whereas other components actually have their own toolkit. So we have a toolkit called Nox.
Okay.
So that was one of the first Linux UI toolkits, with half decent FX and all of that in the back around 2011 or so. It was developed in Unity, picked it up, Canonical picked it up for Unity 7. And yeah, so we're looking to get away from it now because it is really outdated. And pretty much no one is familiar with its code base, so it's just really outdated, and then it doesn't support Valen and all of that. So yeah, that is what Nox is. So we use a combination of Nox, GDK3, and GDK4 for everything.
Excellent. Well, that's very cool. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. The unityd.org. I think is that also a webpage run by you then as well, Rudra?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you pretty much taken on
generic.
the mantle of all things Unity at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we have a few maintainers though. So we have Kushida. Actually, no, we have Kushida Alam. So he's maintaining so whenever I'm not around, all of that. He takes care of the indicators and stuff like that. So Kushida Alam, he helps with that. So maintenance of that kind of stuff. Whereas I focus on the main Unity 7 code base and all of that. And developing of new features, so that's what I do. And then it's the two of us. And aside from that, we get a handy patch Canonical, or we get the handy patch from Canonical, or there's a few people that are still around Canonical that used to develop Unity 7. So that kind of stuff. And then we have a package uploader, so we have to charge enough that helps maintain all of the packages and uploads all of them to the Ubuntu repositories. We often have last minute changes, like a day before the release, we gotta get in a package and stuff like that. So he helps with that. And yeah, that's the development team. Then we have a bunch of moderators and admins, Tobio, and then there's Mike and Yates. So yeah, we have a few moderators and admins and all of that. But yeah, on the development team, there's Yeah, and there's Kushid who helps with the maintenance of applets and all of that. So yep, that's a team. So yeah.
Gotcha.
So I have a question.
Yep.
Is Unity available on other distributions, or is it just on Ubuntu?
Indeed, it is on other distributions. So I had made an effort, for example, to get it working on Arch. There was really an effort that was Unity for Arch. Back in the days, that was around 2014 or so. So it was abandoned, of course, when Canonical discontinued Unity 7. So I just thought I'd pick it up since I also I started to move into my dual boot Arch as well. So I just thought I could just pick it up and I could try to get it working. That old effort I could try to get it working with the latest version of Unity 7, which Unity 7.6. And I've made tons of changes and I worked with a few people at Canonical as well, Marco Tillerson and others at the Ubuntu Summit. Some of the chief developers of Unity 7 to get it working on Arch last year, and yeah, eventually we were able to get it working on Arch. So Gen 2, there's another person. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention this. There's C4PP4, so he maintains Unity 7 for he maintains Unity 7 for Gen 2. So he got it working on Gen 2 and he's been maintaining it since the beginning of time. So yep. Unity for Gen 2 is maintained by another member of the community, C4PP4. I maintain the Arch variant and the Manjaro variant, as you might have guessed, working with the Manjaro team, Philip. So yep.
Are you getting a lot of positive feedback from people?
Yep.
Okay.
I wasn't expecting all of that, because after everything that happened in the past, about opportunity, people criticizing it and all of that. Yeah.
That's good.
The sort of reception. So, yeah.
I have a question.
Yep.
Wimpy had talked about how the HUD has started to lose like abilities for compatibility. How does the HUD work with Flatpaks and snaps? Does it integrate at all, or are those apps not compatible with the HUD?
It does. So it usually depends on the kind of menu. So if say you have so one thing people keep pointing out is the Firefox snap, for example, because the Firefox snap uses a non-standard menu implementation. It doesn't use the standard GTK one. And then of course you have the GNOME app. So it shouldn't be affected by snaps and all of that unless you have to use workarounds. So for apps that do not use the GTK menu bars, we gotta have workarounds using preloaded LG libraries. So unfortunately, that is not possible with snaps and Flatpaks. So if they use non-standard menu implementations that we have to work around with preloaded libraries, there are issues with the HUD. Other than that, there shouldn't be any issues with regular GDK applications that do not use libadwaita, which is another reason we're trying to get away from libadwaita. So yeah, since libadwaita apps essentially duplicate the menu, so we're trying to move over to alternatives. So Mate and quite a few other desktop environments, even KDE and others. They continue to use menus pretty much aside from GNOME, most desktop environments, aside from GNOME and XFCE, most desktop environments just want to stick with the traditional GNOME mini bar. So we're trying to so yeah, we're trying to replace GNOME applications with those apps. So yep. And then for Firefox, we have a few patches, so we hope to, package a version of Firefox as a snap with a few patches. That's what that will allow it to use the regular GK menu bar instead of the non-standard implementation they use right now. So yeah.
Thank you.
Excellent. So there was a push a while ago to move Unity to a Qt base as opposed to GTK. Is that dead in the water then, as far as you're concerned?
That's actually a different project. That is Lumini. So so they're mostly focusing on the mobile. Though we do they do plan on convergence as well. So eventually we plan to offer both. So we plan to offer a couple of ISO. We plan to offer two ISOs. So we have a Unity 7 ISO and we have a Lumini one. Lumini is the name of that. So as you probably know, Unity 8. So we plan to ship ISOs for both of those along with Unity 8. if you plan to have separate license for those for Ubuntu Unity.
Okay. Penguin, you got your hand raised, it looks like, maybe?
Oh, I had forgotten about that. But as far as snaps is concerned, I've never had a problem with snaps in Unity ever. I use snaps with Unity all the time, and the menus work great. There might be a couple exceptions to that rule, but the general rule, they work great.
Oh, that's
Okay,
good.
yeah. Yeah, that. Yeah.
So the HUD integration with snaps, and there are provisions for that in place. Yep. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So welcome, Jo. Hey, I don't know how if I'm probably saying your name wrong. I apologize.
I guess it's like that.
Okay. Well,
Kind of made up the word.
oh, okay. Well, welcome.
Thanks. I usually pronounce it Jiao Hey, something like that.
Jiao Hey. Okay.
Yeah. I don't really speak it out loud or anything, usually.
I got you. Jiao Hey's good. I can see that. English is a funny language anyway. So welcome. You're a new face to the Linux Saloon, so glad to have you here.
Jiao is actually a member of the Ubuntu Unity team and
Oh,
promotion and
great.
all of that.
Oh, fantastic.
Team as well. Yeah.
I mostly deal with like the Discord, stuff like that.
Yeah, with
Okay.
Discord. Yeah. So positioning and all of that.
Well, you're doing God's work then, because I don't know, dealing with community stuff is always such a pain. That's not true. Just sometimes. Well, welcome. And I was going to also ask if in maintaining Unity and keeping it like moving along with newer packages, newer libraries, and whatnot, are there a lot of obstacles there? Like especially with GTK4, has that caused a lot of obstacles for you and the team to keep things from breaking within Unity?
For example, regarding the HUD and all of that, one change for GTK4 was the deprecation of GTK modules. That impacts GTK4 apps that use libvitar that have the menu and so that trying to export the menus, and Unity 7 doesn't have access to that. But aside from that, it's mostly fine. It's mostly Nox that we're trying to get rid of. So we're trying to replace it with GDK, at the main Unity 7 interface level. So, yep.
Cool. Welcome, Eric. I hope hopefully your mic is working swimmingly well, or your camera's at least working, looking at the ceiling. So that's cool.
My camera's on the floor. I shall retrieve that.
All right. Well, it's nice
It's
to have
okay.
you.
Great place for a camera.
Yeah.
Well, it's okay. We enjoyed looking at your ceiling.
It'd been bad if you looked up your skirt. That'd be pretty bad if that happened.
Yeah,
That would not be. Nobody
unfortunate
wants to see
accident.
that. Nobody
Yeah,
wants to see
seriously.
that.
So, Eric, I don't know if you had time to check out Ubuntu Unity, or any Ubuntu's from that matter, but
a little bit, yeah,
but yeah.
but not too much. Yeah. So unfortunately, I didn't. One of those every intention, and ended up just taking a little bit of a spin through it. But
I totally
it's
get
a
it.
known entity,
Yeah. I'm glad it's there. I did the torrent link because if there's always the torrent option, I like to use the torrent, and it took about a day for it to download to the torrent. Maybe I should have maybe I should have chosen the other one, but I couldn't. Like once I started, and I was like, 500 meg into it, I just couldn't stop. So I left it up, and then I seeded it for the rest of the week up until sometime yesterday. But
okay, so
nice.
I gotta mention something. We used to we just switched out our torrent. So I think pretty much everyone's hitting another torrent. So there's an Ubuntu one and there's a FOSS torrent. We used to show the Ubuntu one, the official Ubuntu one on our website earlier, but then we switched over to the FOSS torrents one for the new website. Just with the release of 22.10. So I don't think that many people seeing the new torrent, seeing the FOSS torrents one. So I think it's just no one's seeing the new torrent. So
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh,
yeah,
that's so
I
good.
mean, that's a bit of a shocker. How to wait a whole day for for time to download. So
Well, I like to, do my part of seeding, and then as well as also like not, beating up the download servers any more than I absolutely have to. So that's kind of my thing. I would seed OpenSUSE Tumbleweed, but those change every day, so that's not really worth seeding.
yeah.
Oh, Eric, I can't hear you. Muted.
You'd have to do some sort of like synchronization and then
Yeah, that's not
only
gonna
have
work.
it. Actually, I don't. Do they do anything with BitTorrent? Because
No.
actually, it probably wouldn't work very well.
Nope, they don't.
Yeah.
There's not even
Okay.
like a mirror selection thing. It's all like automatic, so I can't even.
Yeah.
So that's the way she goes.
We will choose for you.
That's exactly how they'd say it.
Yeah,
Actually, I
exactly.
didn't even thought about it, but you're right. That was a funny little accident.
Yeah.
Sorry, I
It's a
wasn't trying to make fun of German people.
It was a happy accident, as Bob Ross would say.
It was. It was.
Yeah. I will say the one thing that I really like about Unity is that, just in general, I really feel like Unity really pushed the desktop paradigm in Linux, or really actually computer wide, because things like the HUD, Plasma kind of sort of has a similar thing, not exactly, but they have a similar kind of an interface now, like with a key combination. It drops down, and if you start typing it, you can take you to documents or applications or whatever just by typing. So I really appreciate how Unity really pushed the desktop envelope quite a bit, and to probably much to was it Steve Anderson who said it? I can't remember. Complain about the size of ISOs. That's one of those things. All those little quality of life improvements that we get are thanks to additional space to download and whatnot, or bloat, as some people might say.
I just wanted to correct. I think you said the HUD, but I think you mean the dash, the integrated like search for everything for applications, files, and
Yeah,
that's
that's
what
what
you
I meant. You're right. Thank you for
The
correcting
HUD
me.
The HUD is just for like the
commands.
menus of the applications.
Yes,
Yeah,
you're absolutely correct.
The search everything, instead of using launchers. I mean, you could still do launchers, but by and large, I think the more general approach was to just sort of kick off the search and then, go for whatever you were looking for. That was sort of I don't say it was ahead of its time necessarily, but it was definitely contemporary, to go more towards not being so curated, just the idea that it's in there somewhere, and if you just search for it, you'll find it. And that it showed the categorization of the results. That's absolutely, yeah. The overview, the layout. There's a lot that I take away from that is sort of mimicked in GNOME, in the current desktop for Ubuntu, but the GNOME search is nowhere near as capable as Unity, so makes you kind of miss that.
Well, you can always use Unity instead of GNOME. I mean, I know you're a GNOME guy.
Yeah.
You like the GNOME, but I like
Yeah,
the
actually,
Unity.
from a touch standpoint, I was curious how it works on a touch device. I'd like to try it at some point.
It works
Yeah.
great. It works
Yeah.
great. I have
Does
a
it?
touch.
Okay.
I have a touch screen laptop, and that's the one I installed bare metal. It worked. It worked absolutely amazing. Actually, I prefer it to GNOME. The experience.
Gotcha. Okay. Good to know.
Okay, I actually I haven't been able to test Unity on a touchscreen device myself. So yeah, I didn't expect that, to be honest. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay.
Hmm.
I would think everything's large enough to be easily accessible. Because I think that's the problem I have with a lot of
It
that.
is, and if it's not, you can always just make it bigger on Unity. It's that is an option on Unity. I love the Unity just because it is highly customizable like that.
Yeah, I mean, one thing is the scaling thing because this is something people kind of love about Ubuntu Unity because we have half decent scaling on X11. So you can just change it from displays panel, assuming you get displays panel to work in the first place in the VM, of course. But yeah, we have fractional scaling with X11. So yep.
That was one thing that Unity had before every other desktop was the fractional scaling. They're able to do that, and
Yeah.
it's pretty great.
It was unmatched for a long time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Does it have per
And-
screen fractional scaling, or is it? That I
Oh,
didn't
It
try that.
doesn't. It does not.
Okay.
Because Xorg does not support that.
Yeah.
But it did. But also Unity was the first to bring monitor support to desktop environments as well. It was.
I was doing that with KDE back in 2002. So. It
Oh,
wasn't-
really? I didn't
yeah.
think the KDE
Yeah.
3 was
KDE, yeah,
supported that.
Yep, it sure did. 'Cause I did it quite a bit.
Oh. Okay. Well, I always thought that it was the first to bring that, but yeah, it was or at least it was the first to innovate that.
Yeah. So so I was doing a little reading here. So is there plans to like using Mir or anything like that to get Wayland support in Unity?
Yep. So that is to do with Unity X. So
Mhm.
so we just so here's the thing, Unity X at the moment it enters as a single window, so you have the dash and all of that enters as a single window. So most X11 discipline environments, I mean, you have a different panel, you have a different dock and all of that. So at the moment, Freeland compositors do not play well with that. And similarly, we need to make some changes for it to actually show Wayland apps and all of that instead of just a blank dock when you use Unity X with Bitwarden. So once we get all of that sorted out, you should be able to use Unity X with any Wayland compositor of your choice.
Okay.
So,
So
yep.
you could then use Mir then.
Yep,
Yep.
you
And then
definitely
then you get your Wayland support. Oh, cool.
Yep.
That's great. Mir's not dead. In case you're
Yeah,
wondering.
I mean, I had a chat with me devs about this, and yeah, once we do get this working, once we get it working without actually, then it should be even better. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, very cool. Well, any other thoughts on Unity before we move on to some other topics?
Yeah.
Okay. Far away.
I when I first used Unity, when it was first released, I absolutely hated it.
Mhm.
It was terrible. And I think it kind of grew into its own as it progressed forward, and it was just starting to get to something that I would consider using as a desktop environment when Unity dropped it, or not Unity,
Yeah.
but Ubuntu dropped it. I think it was a little. It was really, from my experience, kind of a jarring shift in a desktop environment over GNOME at the time, and I just ran over to Linux Mint and stayed there for a bit, and it either it grew on me or something, but I'm a kind of a lover of desktops that just give you enough at this point. Cinnamon is my daily driver of desktop environments. Somebody in the chat for YouTube mentioned Cinnamon. I'm like, yeah, I use it. And if it was available on Nix, I would definitely give it. I definitely at least be going back and forth between the two environments.
Well, yeah, I can understand that.
Just my 2 cents. Just my 2 cents.
Because
Yeah.
you're obviously on the Nix train right now, so I'm pretty sure there'd be a way to get that You could probably get it pulled in somehow because it's for if it's for Manjaro and Gentoo, it seems like there's got to be a way to pretty easily get it into Nix effectively.
Well, I mean, it's not in the official packages at this point, so that's kind of what I stick to.
Here's kind of a wise guy suggestion. You could always just try to build it.
I could, but I have a life. So
yeah, I get that, but it is possible.
it is possible, and I don't know enough about the Nix build system at this point to even attempt it. So,
well, I'm sure it's not an easy undertaking.
No, I've tried it in the past, and even once you get it built, the need to maintain it and not break, and it's just a little too fragile. It was for my taste, at least.
Mhm.
So I would rather have something that's a little more well integrated and well thought out than me just potato chipping. Like, hey, I'll just build this and see what happens.
I get that.
Yeah. But I'm with you, Sean. I am cinnamon through and through. It's the midpoint between the complex nature of Plasma and the simplified nature of GNOME. It's sort of the two. And I really like a GTK based DE personally. I like the way the theming works. I like the way the apps look, all that sort of thing. So one of the other things I thought I had on Unity is the prevalence of keyboard shortcuts as well. And the fact that you can really do most of what you need to do without even touching the mouse. And that is something that really appeals to me. Like I'm not at the point where I'm using like window managers and stuff like that, but I do appreciate having a keyboard shortcut for at least the most commonly used things that I do. So I love that, you start up and here's a big list of keyboard shortcuts, just in case you needed to remember what they were. So yeah, I think the idea of creating a desktop environment from scratch is kind of incredible if you think about it. Like all of a lot of it feels like rehashing. So you have to implement certain things. Well, at least I think we're all expecting certain things to be there, which is why when I use something that doesn't have a system tray, like Elementary, for example, Pantheon, there's no system tray, and for icons for running applications. And I've heard the argument that, well, you don't need it, but I still have lots of apps that still look for that tray, and when it's not there, I have problems accessing them or having them run properly. And so I think the idea that you're recreating a lot of sort of standard paradigms of what people expect to be there, and then what applications need to function properly and all of that, but then you have the opportunity to do things differently. And I feel like one of the things I can always respect about the Unity team is that they did do some things, very differently. It was their opportunity to try new things. And at first, I think, like Sean said, there was a lot of, and rightfully so, there were a lot of problems. So you had a lot of people that were unhappy about it being the default, but it did, they stood behind it, and it really did. It had gotten so much better. And then, yeah, they decided not to continue with it. So, and everybody knows the history, but it's kind of a shame. I would think that if I was a developer on that project, it would be really disappointing to have made so much progress and then have it sort of be yanked out from underneath you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really, I think, great that we get to have this sort of retrospective thought process and then now see it here again in 2023. And the fact that it's up to date and you can actually use it is pretty cool. So, and it takes someone with a little bit of talent and well, a lot of talent and some time on their hands and some motivation to do it. And I have to imagine there's going to be some fans of it, people who may have never tried it previously or who tried it and had problems and now have an opportunity to try it again, kind of in a new way,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the one. I'm glad Unity has been freshened up and brought back. I like a lot of the. I think keeping different desktop environments alive, I think is great. Like CDE or NSCDE and whatnot. I think that's great too. The fact that Leo is made his XFCE experience look like Windows 95, I respect it. I would never do that, but I respect it. I have a Windows 95. I don't know if it's considered an emulator, but it boots up. It's Java based and it's really great. Sometimes it's just nice to have just a type of paper in old Word. But anyway,
you get
Prophetic,
to type Win to start it.
No, actually, it boots right up. You know what? I will get you a link to that sometime before the end of the show.
Okay, cool.
But Prophetic, thank you for being here. It's always good to see your wonderful face. You keep me on the straight and narrow, and I appreciate that. Like in my life, so it's good to have you. Good to have you here. Did you try Ubuntu Unity?
No, I tried it about I think the last release.
Okay, yeah. I'm always excited to see it. To me, it's something different and something that doesn't bore me. So that's why I like it.
I try to try every single release, but I didn't get around to it this time.
That's fine. I'm sure Rudra's not too offended. So thank you so much, Rudra, for being here. Thank you for all the work you've done, you and your team. I do appreciate the efforts, and I'm hoping that if people have any issues with it, they can send those bug reports to you, help you kind of hammer out whatever issues are in the .1 release or whatever that's going to come up next. So thank you so much, and then please be sure to thank your developers and speak kind words to them so that they continue to offer us these wonderful compilations of software to make our computer journey more fun. Thank you very much. Next week, we have an application appetizer. I'm sorry. We have a news flight night. I don't know what's wrong with my head. I have multiple notes here, and apparently I lost my head. But if you have any ideas for an application appetizer or another distribution or anything else, send them to suggestions@linuxsaloon.com. I like to get as many suggestions as possible. And if I can incorporate into the next show, I will. So I didn't see anything this past week, but I do get, from time to time, I do get a thing here and there. Also, if you have any suggestions for poll ideas, check that, send them as well. Eris would appreciate that. We're constantly having to turn the faucet on his noggin to come up with more ideas, and I think he's probably getting a little, he might get a little dry someday. So a break on Eris probably be a good thing.
He hits home runs all the time. I think we should just keep it going.
Yeah, he's always rolling a 20, so I appreciate that. Right? Oh, you're muted, Eric. You're pulling a Nate.
Sure, he could just use ChatGPT to come up with brilliant new ideas, right?
But that's
true. That's the
Give me 10 ideas for polls for a weekly Linux streaming show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I suppose you could do that. All right. Well, we have a little time yet, so I wanted to bring up a news story. I don't know if anyone saw this. I had this on the agenda for last week, but it's from OMG Ubuntu. OMG Ubuntu. I think I almost said that wrong. So apparently the Snap Store is restricting uploads after a potential security incident. Did anybody read this or hear about it?
I did.
I heard it.
Yeah, I heard about the malware that crept into the Snap Store.
Yeah, like kind of crypto-related snaps that kind of came in.
Yeah.
This isn't the first time things like this happened.
No, I remember a few years ago, Popey hopped on one on just happened to check something like on a Friday night or something like that. I could be exaggerating. I'm probably a little off on that. But I remember him talking about how he fixed that immediately.
Yeah, it was a minor.
Yeah, there was like 2 or 3 snaps. So about I want to say 2014, 2015, I want to say. it was towards the beginning of snaps, and they found a couple cryptocurrency miners and like 2 or 3 snaps, and then they banned them immediately as soon as they found them.
Yeah. So well, one of those the lesson there, I guess, real quick is not even open source software is safe. But anyway, so Canonical is responding to the user reports that a couple of recently published crypto-related snaps were acting in a likely malicious manner. The asking question has since been pulled and are no longer available to install, and dummy updates issued to affect users to replace them. So now this sounds dodgy, just as any security incident might, but it's important to note that although Canonical has announced this incident and taken swift action to ameliorate the situation, such as to their credit, this is a potential security incident that occurred. So you take anything away from this reporting on this incident, is there will be those out there suggesting that the reporting it, I'm trying to milk for clicks or something of that nature. That's his Omju Ubuntu saying this. So I want to be clear. Let's let it be that this is still being looked into. That said, if you recently installed the newly added crypto ledger apps from the Snap Store, perhaps using the swanky new App Center in the Ubuntu 23.10 beta, you should look and see if the app is still listed. If it isn't, it's likely because it was suspected of being malicious. So I'm sure Flatpak would have the same issue because anybody can publish. Now, the discussion point I want to get from this is how do you keep something as free and open as things are, but also have rails or toll gates to prevent something like this from getting in there? In my mind, something like the Open QA system that OpenSUSE has, where it can actually check through, they can actually run tests on software, is one way of checking to make sure software is functioning properly or functioning like expected. But what might be another way to do that? Sean, I see that hand.
Thank you for seeing my hand. And I have thoughts.
I would love to hear your thoughts.
So, in any ecosystem that is software related, there's a big challenge on keeping things pure and not introducing viruses or malware and all that. So part of it comes down to the administration and how those apps or installation bits get vetted into the system. And it's never going to be perfect. Something is always going to creep in. I mean, it's happened to every operating system out there. It's not just Linux. So I think the takeaway is like how can you minimize your exposure?
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, the answer that you don't want to hear, or most users don't want to hear, is that you have to take a proactive approach and like start to vet things yourselves and not trust everything that is given to you from your distribution, and do the research.
Mm-hmm.
That is the only way that I see that you can be as sure as you can be that something isn't sneaking into your system.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you think would be some like easy to easy? Now, when I say easy, I just take that for whatever. But some steps that can be implemented, like specific things, like some kind of a, I hate to say this, but like a board or a like a group of.
Well, I've got an
people.
idea.
Well, Rudra has his hand up. So Rudra,
Rudra can go first. He's a developer anyway.
Yeah. So I just put this out there. So for example, in the case of snaps, it's kind of similar to how Arch packages, to how AUR packages work. So you have a snapcraft of YAML, so you have a single file that declares everything. So you might have a couple of additional files, digital file or all of such. You might just include a digital file or other material files, with the main package building file. So kind of like the Arch, kind of how most AUR helpers work. One option would be to give to show the user how the package is built and all of that, to show the user all of that, and then to potentially have some sort of rating or something, because so first of all that thing, because you can have the user be shown the package build files, and any technical user should be able to tell the difference between a malicious source or package. So if you're downloading downloading the package from a random old website, a random arbitrary website from the dark web. So that is one thing, and then you could also have so for example, again looking at snaps, there is a team, the Snapcraft team that do maintain tons of snaps. So such responsibilities could be delegated to them, so just reviewing multiple snaps and all of that. So snaps could be reviewed, and there could be sort of ratings of all of those on basis of so these so snaps, instead of all of the snaps having to go through a vetting process, since that sort of defeats the purpose of snaps. And snaps were initially built so that people could just put their apps out there without them having to go through a lot of vetting and all of that, because that is an issue with package repositories in general on Ubuntu. If some of the more popular snaps, they could be vetted and audited by the Snapcraft team. So that is another suggestion. As they do that now, so at the moment there are verified publishers, so sort of blue tick publishers on the Snapcraft website. So that's Microsoft and all of those that have blue ticks, that have blue badges, to identify themselves as so all of the packages are vetted by Canonical and stuff like that. So if this were on a per package basis, and this also applies to Flatpaks, since from what I know, there's anything of this sort for Flatpaks, for vetting packages. And another thing about Flatpaks is that if they that quite a few of them are not sandboxed, from what I know. So it's quite easy for them, for Flatpaks to to not to be sandboxed, without the user knowing, and just have full system access. So this is unlike snaps. And then also app images. Now, app images are kind of like singular now expanded. These they are not sandboxed in any way. For app images and stuff, the first step would be to mandate sandboxing, of course. Since app images are not sandboxed, they're just singular old binaries that ship a bunch of libs. So they just ship a bunch of libraries and all of that. So yeah, so that would be the first step for app images, and yeah, I think about the stuff for Snapchat and app images just now.
Yeah. Well, my suggestion is that I think Flatpaks and Snaps need to take a book from the AUR page from the AUR book and actually put a comment section on the app itself, so that if users have an issue, you can just go to the comment section, and it's got and you can just go ahead and read if other people have had issues with that app. Because the AUR has done that for years.
So
and I think
that already exists. So I forget what it's called. Is it software streams or something streams? And the way snaps and app Flatpaks are delivered, they actually have they have comments built right into it. So when I go to Discover, I can search for, let's say, a Minecraft Bedrock edition. I can actually see the comments, how many stars, any issues with it, and so forth. You can actually sort by rating and everything else. So
yes.
So that app stream, it's called app stream. Yes, that already exists. Yep.
But my suggestion is to put it directly onto the store itself.
Yeah, it is.
I didn't think. I'm looking at it right now. It's not there. Unless you've got app stream enabled, it's not there. I'm talking. It should be default.
I'm sure it's distribution is probably different, but if I open up Discover in Plasma.
Oh yeah, you're talking about Discover. I'm talking about on Snapcraft.io itself.
Okay, if you go open up the Snap Store
Yeah.
though, go open up the Snap Store
Mhm.
application, then you'll see it in there as
Yeah.
well.
Yes. But yeah, I was more talking about putting it on snapcraft.io where a lot of people go to take a look. That's not available right there. So I think that they should start putting it right on snapcraft.io so that when people are looking at, because that's where I get my information. I don't have any of these software stores installed.
That
To me-
seems great on the surface on it, but what happens is that snaps can be run in multiple distributions. Technically, MX Linux can run snaps, and they're missing a lot of the app armor patches that Ubuntu provides. So
Yeah.
if they start reporting, hey, it's not working like this, and then another user from a totally different distribution sees it, then it's just like, oh, I'm not going to bother using that snap because it's broken. When really it's not broken. They're using it in a unofficially supported environment. So in theory, it sounds like a great idea. But when you translate that to reality, you see that kind of break down easily because the purpose of Snap so you can run it anywhere. AUR, not so much.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But you could just build in a place just to say I'm running it on this distribution into the comment section itself. But it's just something that I would suggest at least.
Yep. So anyway, it's something to be thought as just to think about with the greater acceptance of Linux or Linux desktop Linux. There's going to be becomes a greater attack surface for malware, and so you have to be very conscientious about what you're installing on your system, and don't just willy-nilly install anything. So I think one thing that I know Snaps have done, and I know Flatpak also, they say who is the developer, like who's actually who packaged the Flatpak or whatever, packaged the application, and so that
they have a verified
right. So
status on both of them. Yeah.
It might be to your benefit to only install things that has that, and I know or if you know the developers, like if you interact with developers too. So you gotta be careful. All right. So speaking of security, Bitwarden finally brings two-factor authentication for the free users. So if you are someone who uses Bitwarden, the good news is you can now use two-factor authentication for free. I don't know if anybody here does. Two-factor authentication is a pain in the tuchus, but I appreciate it. So from a security perspective, do you really think it's that much better, Eric?
It's better than texting.
Yeah, I think so too.
It drives me crazy whenever the two-factor method that a company uses is texting, which is just, waiting to be abused with a man-in-the-middle attack or something. Not to mention that it's just annoying because, hey, I have this nice authenticator app here. Why don't you just let me use it? I think companies have built a lot of their processes around, the sort of older SMS style and email. That's another one that drives me crazy. Like, there's no way anyone could possibly have your unauthenticated email address and, get that one-time password that you just sent to me via email. What a fabulous system that is. So, yeah, I think to me TOTP is probably, and it's not infallible, but it's probably the best balance of an actual solution and something that is usable. It's not a security key, it's not an encryption key, it's still just plain text, but yeah, I use it daily, and any account that I have where I can use it, I do use it.
So Leo, I gotta I'll get to you, Sean. Keep that hand up, Sean. I don't let it get tired, but just keep that hand up. So Leo says, absolutely not. Do not use the same tool that does two-factor authentication as your password store. So I think that's kind of interesting perspective. I do get that, but so I for work, I use, because I fell into it, use Duo for the two-factor authentication and then Keeper for the password store. And I really dislike Keeper a lot. But that's another discussion for another time. Sean, what are you going to say?
As a certain podcast that I listen to often
You can say what it
quotes,
is. It's not going to hurt my feelings.
security is hard. So, and that comes from Security Now.
Okay.
And it is. I mean, security is it's a moving target.
Mhm.
What's secure today is not secure tomorrow. And I think it's up to every one of us to kind of like choose what the level of security is that we accept. So is it, and what's available? I mean, that's the other factor. I mean, sometimes you only have, something that we send over text or email as your second factor of authentication. Well, okay, and that's better than nothing. It's better than not having that second factor at all. So, just my observations is security is hard and it's not perfect, and we can strive towards it. But the more we get towards a perfect security system, the more restrictive it's going to feel.
Right.
And
yeah, it's a tough one for sure. I don't have the right answer. And
I don't think anyone does.
Yeah. It's something to think about.
The answer is to run BSD, obviously.
Sorry.
Yeah. I would say the
No, the answer is to run everything off of floppies and not have everything on the internet.
Yep.
Probably
Air
right there.
gap.
Find a way to disconnect your from the internet, like island your home from time to time, just to keep things clean. So I forgot how to pronounce it already. Jawahe.
I also use two-factor authentication for everything.
Uh-huh.
But I don't use Bitwarden's one, though I do use that for my passwords.
Okay. What do you use for your two-factor?
I have like 3 of them.
Oh.
Yeah, because I have a Microsoft account, so I have to use Microsoft's one for like the Microsoft account or whatever. One as well. That's the one I use.
I think it's good to have a mix, because I think if one gets owned, Okta recently had a security breach from their support people. So you can have the best tools, but if the support people of these multi-factor services get compromised, like your host, so it happens. I think it's good to not have all your eggs in one basket.
Yep.
I think it kind of comes down to just being prepared in a lot of ways. That having backups of your important data is important. Obviously, it wouldn't be important data if it wasn't important. And so, the world is unpredictable, and you don't know what could happen. It could be a security problem. It could be a hardware problem, software problem. Your house could get struck by lightning, floods, things could happen. And so security is just another one of those chaotic elements. And you need the best way to be prepared for any of those things is to just put in a little bit of effort to make sure that you have things in a state where if the worst happened, you have some means of recovery. It sounds very simplistic and probably it is a lot more difficult than just saying it like that. But putting a little thought in ahead of time certainly makes it easier to deal with something that happens after the fact. If you're reacting, that's a terrible posture to be in.
Right.
If you're standing firm, knowing that, you know what, even if that computer just literally burst into flames right now, I know that the data that's on it, which is really all that's important out of all of these things we do, the data is the key thing. If it's somewhere safe, the worst could happen and you're okay.
Yeah. The that's it. Kind of makes me think also, if you're a harder target to be owned, that is a level of improvement, I think. So maybe use Google Chrome, have all your passwords in there, where Google keeps everything safe for you, and then use Bitwarden for two-factor authentication.
That's what you do with security. You say, here, you take care of this for me.
Right.
That's exactly how you manage security.
That was sarcasm. I don't actually think you should give Google your passwords, but I don't even. I mean, did Firefox have your passwords? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, Firefox will remember your passwords if you want it
it
to.
does.
I don't allow Firefox to remember passwords.
Same, yeah.
But LastPass got compromised,
Mhm.
not too long
Oh
ago.
yeah.
Mhm.
Terrible.
Yeah.
And the dev who they targeted for that was running a Plex server at home that was exploited. So it's just like, whoa, like how far do we have to go to like avoid this? And it's a little bit of everything, it seems like, is the answer.
Well, when you
Well,
tell people we're gonna put everyone's passwords in this one server, it's online, you're kind of drawing like all these guns towards you.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
and this is why I keep my passwords offline at this point. They're not stored online. There's no connection to anything online. It's all local. I have it backed up in several locations, and if anything happens, it's on me.
That's good they have it in several locations. What were those locations again?
Well, I've got a little story about people breaking into accounts because earlier, like I have a Microsoft account, and I kept getting broken into all the time. Like literally, like I changed the password. I have a password randomizer on my little on Bitwarden actually. Set the password, and 2 days later, it's been breached again. I don't know how the AT two tricks they were doing it, but they would literally break my password in like 2 days. And it was like a 32 character password and everything. They were breaking into it. I don't know how they were doing it. I eventually had to turn off the password and make it strictly the authenticator app just to keep them from breaking into it. I'm like, I don't know how, but but it was like an IP address from India that kept doing it. It was the same IP address.
Interesting.
So yes, definitely two-factor authentication is more secure because I haven't had this issue since I turned that on.
Good to know. Steve, welcome. I haven't heard your beautiful. Would you be considered a baritone? Are you deep enough to be a baritone? Prophetic, is he a baritone?
No,
Yes.
I'm not.
I was just waiting for you to leave the sentence there, like, Steve, I haven't seen you. You're beautiful. That's it. That was a compliment.
Beautiful Steve.
Hi guys.
What do you do for two-factor? Do you use two-factor authentication? I should ask. Maybe I shouldn't ask you that since you're an influencer and we don't want to make you a target. So I withdraw the question. Unless you want to answer the question.
No, we'll keep it safe.
He uses three-factor authentication. There you go.
Use Puppy Linux. That's the real next level security. Puppy Linux.
I think I'm about ready to go back to like my IBM XT and just do everything in DOS here.
There is someone who actually runs Puppy Linux, like instead of having like a laptop they travel with, well, they do have the laptop to travel with, but instead of having anything installed literally on the hard drive, they run Puppy Linux in RAM.
Hmm.
And when they shut it down, everything gets technically wiped.
Right.
And he's like holds true to that method. So a kid with Puppy Linux, but that is actually, when you think about it, that is a not bad way to do it.
Right. Get everything in RAM. So as soon as if when the battery dies, so does your data. That can be good, and it can be maybe not good. I don't know.
Yeah.
Eris, got that hand raised.
So people are saying that offline is better, but how much better would it be if you were to put it into a floppy or into a zip drive? Would that be way more secure? Who's gonna steal the floppy?
So I
Who's
know
gonna be
that
stealing the zip drive?
Jill does that.
Oh, I would say, okay, how reliable is that information on the floppy? Because they go bad.
I have
They
40-year-old floppies that still work.
and there are floppies that are younger than that have given up the ghost. So it kind of depends on the luck of the
Right.
draw. So
That's true.
And it depends on how much you actually have used that particular floppy as well.
Don't copy
Right.
that floppy.
That's very true.
But in this case, do copy that floppy.
Yeah.
That's actually a
I
question.
mean, it's kind of like, what is the storage medium that you're storing it on? Is it popularly available? Yes. Then maybe it's not so secure, right?
So the post-it notes I have around the rim of my monitor with all my passwords, is that considered safe?
Yes, because nobody can enter into your stronghold.
What you're supposed to do is put a bunch of wrong passwords
Oh,
around
okay.
them.
So I'll put my Bitwarden password,
I
my bank account information.
I would definitely say that, as long as your stronghold is secure on one level, it should be secure on all levels. So there you go.
I do have to say, and I usually get nervous talking about this stuff because you gotta be careful what you share, but I will say that there is something to be said about the power of leaving things in plain sight, but keeping it obscure enough where it seems innocent. So
It's like much like magazine, like you cut out the titles of things, make it look like a ransom note.
no, like a psycho bomber threat letter. No, but there's
wow.
if you remember what the connection is, you might have to draw some hints, or some scrap paper could look a type of way. You just never know. But yeah.
Well, I'll say
Just
I'm
don't.
less concerned about some of my personal stuff than I am about um, the medical field. Uh, all that getting hacked, hospital information records.
Every day it gets hacked.
Yep.
It's terrible.
And I am, that is more concerning than my own personal, if I let no one into the house that really knows the system or things like that, where they can't even, attempt to figure it out, not respond to wily emails and texts and all that crap, you're going to be secure, the servers, the hospital servers and all that. That's the scary part, because people are getting paid a ton of money to protect those systems, and the people are getting by them like it is nothing, and that's a shame,
That's very true.
I don't know if it'd be like nothing necessarily, but I think that what is true is you tend to see old tricks are the best tricks. So
Yeah,
social engineering is still the king, honestly. You could put millions and millions of dollars into your, front end security, and all it takes is the wrong person with the
Mhm.
with the wrong amount of access,
Yep.
And, it's not like people are, and it isn't even like you'll hear very intelligent people say, this phishing site was so well recreated that it was like, you couldn't tell unless you were being really careful. So that email that comes in from your contractor that's working for your company that's helping with setting up the new servers, or it all sounds really plausible. And if you're not extra careful and think, I'm going to check in first before I, just click on this. But again, that's being diligent, I guess. And but that is the way. It's not so easy. The people that are good at that are good at that. They're practiced at it, and they cast a wide net, right? All they need to know is like basic sort of procedure for a company, right? And to get sort of the records of like how
They
a company's
process event,
IT.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then once you have that information and you can recreate an event that looks plausible, and then you just can send it out to enough people, like you're going to get a hit.
This is information you could pick up in the lobby if you just sit in a lobby somewhere and
Mhm.
observe. You can grab what the nuance are. Like how easy do they let contractors go through, delivery people go through. And Darknet Diaries is a great podcast for this. Like this one person she actually has like a fake pregnancy like thing, and she carries a box. And then to get in the door, she says, "Oh, would you mind getting that door for me?" And then every single time walks right in. She drops a USB somewhere, and it jacks in, runs a Pi somewhere off of exposed Ethernet, and that's literally all it takes. We're not even safe from trying to be helpful to pregnant women who are trying to carry boxes in the store. Like you really have to be a jerk now. You have to.
So, Sean, speaking of jerk, what were you going to say?
Wow.
Well, I wasn't going to say jerk.
Oh,
but,
okay.
I got a letter in the mail a while ago from a former doctor who was like, "Hey, our systems have been compromised and some of your information has leaked out." I'm like, "Okay, what information? I haven't been to you in like 10 years." you know. Yeah, I moved on. I moved to a different state. You're no longer my doctor. What information are you hanging on to? I have no idea. It's just like this
That's a
black,
good point.
it's a black box. It's like some of your information has been leaked. Okay, tell me what so I can act on it. And it's just like, it's a boilerplate of like, hey, something happened and you can do nothing about it.
That's a
The
good point.
Yeah.
the fact that the companies gather so much information, a lot of it that they don't actually use, it's a sort of someday principle where it's like, well, it's better to have more. And the reality is it's not, because these companies have way more information than they deserve to have. And that makes them a liability because you can, as we've said here, you could take all these different precautions and do the diligence, and you're always careful. And then, like Steve said, some hospital or somewhere, doctor's office has, and that the smaller doctor's offices have very poor IT in a lot of cases. It's not like, hospital, you would expect to have better IT resources, more competent people, and any random doctor's office still has to deal with electronic medical records. And unfortunately, they may not have that same level, not only of expertise, but of physical security, right? Those buildings are usually very easy to just walk into, like Prophetic said. I mean, it isn't even like anyone's necessarily looking in a lot of cases. It's not like you have to fool anyone. You just have to
Yeah,
walk
just
in.
walk with confidence, like you're supposed to be there, be the new guy.
Especially if you have any kind of a uniform, like you're a service person or something, like you just literally walk right in. Nobody's going to, in a lot of cases, nobody questions, even if they had a feeling like, oh, that's weird, I don't know, recognize that person. They may
I
not.
would kind of disagree
Do you?
in
Okay.
that Yeah. So the biggest risk is the attack vector. So if you are a large attack vector, you'll have more people trying to break in. If you're a small attack vector, you'll have less people to try to break in. So as a smaller, let's say, doctor's office, like you brought up, maybe your security doesn't have to be as good because you're a smaller target, but you still have to have security. If you're a larger attack vector, like, let's say Amazon, who is like trying to push medical stuff through their platform, you're a really big attack vector, and you better have a lot of security built up around that. So part of it is like security through obscurity, and part of it is like just being safe.
I think the argument I would have, I don't disagree, obviously, right? The riches, you're gonna rob the bank that has money, not the one that is the credit. You're not gonna go for the credit union. You're gonna go for the national, bank. Anyway, but I still think you see enough of the sort of encryption hacks, where people were held for ransom. You would think that as someone that was perpetrating these kinds of attacks, that you would only really focus on larger companies, and that's just not the pattern you see necessarily. I mean, yes, that happens, but it's also a lot harder to do those things. Whereas if I know I can go and have a much higher likelihood of success, even though the reward isn't necessarily higher, I probably would go to those odds. I think there's enough room for
for
everything,
both.
honestly.
Yeah.
So
You go for
um,
the easy hit, not so much the big hit sometimes.
yeah, I mean, unless I'm if I were doing it, I'm not a state-sponsored hacker. I would be probably looking at a local business or something that is, you know, going to be a softer target than one of the hotter ones. But I agree, certainly from a penetration testing standpoint, and trying to find ways into those networks. And I mean, being those cloud hosting companies, I'm sure that they are taking extraordinary measures to protect themselves. Um, yeah, security, it's one of those things that looking back, I wish I would have maybe focused a little more on in my career with IT, because seems to be a chronic shortage of qualified people in the field, and it seems to be just a very interesting, I don't know. I felt like a lot of my IT career was pretty boring and run of the mill, whereas maybe security might have been a little more engaging and interesting. The idea of like tracking people, and I don't know. Maybe it's not as exciting as I'm making it out in my head.
Yeah. And I think security and layers is a big thing too. So I know like where I work, there's security is a big part of it because I'm in the food processing industry now. We are constantly under attack, like all the time. And so taking off prophetic, nice to have you. I appreciate it. We're constantly under attack. So it's security and layers, and then it's one of those things that even if we were compromised, we have backups within that last hour, so we could shut things down, rebuild. So no one shouldn't say no one, but it would be an incredibly difficult task to take the whole place down, I guess is what I'm saying. So it's pretty remarkable the layers of security that we have in place. And I didn't set this up, I just fell in on it. So I'm learning a lot about security in an application sense now. And then I have with our company our cybersecurity company, I meet with them monthly and we review things. They do penetration tests and everything else to find vulnerabilities. So it's in that regard, sometimes being bigger when you have the financial wherewithal to be able to implement more strategies for cybersecurity there's somewhere where, I mean, if you're proactive, like you said, Eric, and I think you're a little bit safer and just being wise. But our biggest vulnerability is the people that work there, because even with all the most impressive of systems, if a person is compromised, then you got a bad day, or week, or something, a bad insert, whatever here. But we are at time, so we gotta move on to last call. So I'll make this real quick since we are over. But Eric, you have a podcast called the Distro Hoppers Digest, and you do cool things. So give us a little taste. A crumb.
We just recorded our latest episode, and it should be out sometime this week coming up for Distro Hoppers Digest. And I reviewed Manjaro Cinnamon. So
sweet.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I'm definitely on a cinnamon kick, as I mentioned earlier. Just
like
trying
it in my
on
coffee.
all the things. Real cinnamon, fake cinnamon, virtual cinnamon, sure.
Yeah, it's good.
It's all good. Also recorded Linux OTC earlier today. There's another episode of Mintcast coming out. So yeah, I've been busy with lots of stuff and really enjoying it. So I hope that you do too.
Excellent. Steve, you're here, so I can just I don't have to say your bit. You can say it. You do a live show when?
On Sunday mornings in most cases. I'm not sure right now about tomorrow. It's been a rough day today, and I'm pretty beat. I just figured I'd join you guys for a little bit here because I haven't done it for a while. But it's a lot of general discussion, mostly about OBS and doing things with OBS these days.
That's fun. I think it's good to talk about the fun things you do, because I think the stuff you do with OBS is way beyond what I do. I have just like, I think MVP, minimum viable product, just enough to.
Sometimes that's all one needs, you know.
Well, there's things that I'd like to do additionally. Like I watch your streams, and I'm like, man, Steve is like 20 years my senior, and he's doing way cooler things with computers and OBS than I am. Oh wait, he's got 20 more years of practice than I do. That's why. So
there we go. Yeah,
that's what we'll go with that. So I do enjoy your streams for the different things you do with OBS. It's
thank you.
Yeah, I think it's really very cool. So tomorrow morning, maybe? You're not sure?
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm 20 days away from retirement, so things will change.
We have to have a virtual party for you. Like we have to do like a streaming night or something. We got to have some kind of a fun thing, Steve. So
yep.
I have no idea. I pulled that out of the air. Probably a bad idea. I shouldn't do that. A good idea fairy just kicked me in the head. So anyway, glad to have you here, Steve.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So Linux User Space, if you haven't checked out their episode on CDE, that was lots of fun. It is behind them. The XSC is the next history journey they're going into. But while they spend a month with that, the next episode will be on a few topics releasing on the 30th. So yeah, look out for that. Leo and Dan are both in the chat. I miss seeing their faces. So I have to watch their YouTube just so I can see their faces, it seems like. Anyway, check it out, linuxuserspace.show. I'm on a podcast called Linux Out Loud. We're going to record something this week. I don't know what yet. I have a website called cubelinate.com. The last two articles I did there were about the Wayland Display Server on OpenSUSE Tumbleweed in 2023, and it's pretty awesome, and I'm very excited for the progress of that. And actually, that article was inspired by the Linux User Space show where Leo had an axe to grind. That's not what it was called, but something like that. And it's Wayland's been great. So if you need to do per monitor fractional scaling, basically your only chance. Although I will say one thing. Sometimes things can flicker. Sometimes. Rudra, I want to thank you for being here. You are the work that you do is amazing with Ubuntu Unity. You're doing the work of the people, and so I appreciate that. I hope that it continues to be fulfilling, and I appreciate you bringing Jehoshaphat, that's not his name. Man, I'm an idiot. I need to like write down it phonetically in front of me or something like that.
Jiao He.
Jiao J. Okay, I'm gonna write this down. I don't even see
Jiao
the
as
pencil.
in kind of like owl, then Hey as in hey.
Yeah, so Jiao, Jow, Jiao, and then hey. There we go. All right, now I got it. Jiao Hey, thank you for being here. I appreciate all that you're doing to keep Ubuntu Unity alive too, and I hope your team grows. There was a question that that was given, and I think you may have addressed it, but Prophetic, he's gone now. But I hope that that your team grows, and then the project goes beyond just you, and you have a lot of people keeping the dream alive of Unity. So thank you very much for all you do. Do you have anything you want to shout out about your project, what they should check out?
Not.
I think we went through everything right now, but yeah, I mean, I feel contribute anything, yeah. Since yeah, I think we checked out everything right now, but
Well, I know that you have Ubuntu Unity and also the unityd.org. So if people want to check that out and help you out, those are a couple of good locations to do that. So thank you very much for being here.
Appreciate it, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sounds being,
And then everyone else, thank you very much for being here. I think Ricky, you've got probably another stream coming up here pretty soon because it seems like you got at least something weekly.
Basically just a Yu-Gi-Oh related trading card game live stream at the end of the month. But as of next month, I don't remember the date. I will be doing a live install as of next month of Fedora 39, so keep a lookout for that.
All right, excellent. Linux Saloon is part of the Tux Digital Network. Check out more great shows at tuxdigital.com. And I thank you all for your support, however you do it, whether it's being a part of the conversation in both the Zoom meeting or the YouTube stream, or just for watching the show after the fact. I want to thank everyone involved in making the Linux and open source tools possible for us to not only have this conversation, but also to have fun and enjoy our technology. Linux truly puts personal back in our personal computer. Thank you for stopping by. Be sure to tip your developers, and please remember to Linux responsibly. Until next time, see yous.